What would you do if a creep invaded your safe space and harassment escalated from leering to illegal acts? In today's story, the protagonist's choice, and her community's response, is a masterclass in how to handle it. I work out with a personal trainer, Leo, twice a week. The gym he's based in isn't your average fitness center. It's a specialty facility. This is where people who train for major competitions like Ironman, bodybuilding, or powerlifting spend hours on end, doing things that seem physically impossible to a mere mortal like me. It's a fantastic place, filled with positive, motivated people, and thankfully, zero pickup culture. Unfortunately, that positive atmosphere was recently poisoned when they hired a temporary nutritionist, a large, smelly, hairy, leering man named Gary. Gary was a bizarre mix of neckbeard and health nut. He wore those Wolf and Moon t-shirts, but he always cut the sleeves off, presumably because he thought his pasty, flabby arms were something to show off. He was constantly guzzling muscle milk and eating Lenny and Larry's complete cookies. According to the other trainers, he'd eat 3 to 4 packages during his workday, which is an insane amount of food. To top it all off, he was unkempt, unshaven, and carried a pungent odor of sour milk and an unwashed body. My first unfortunate interaction with Gary happened while he was wandering around the gym floor, getting in everyone's way. Remember, he was a nutritionist. He had no business being on the floor. I only noticed him when his smell hit me. I was in the middle of a set of squat presses, and I saw his reflection in the mirror. He had approached from behind and was leering intently at my rear. I paused my exercise, locked eyes with his reflection, and just stared him down until he finally got the message and scuttled away. I mentioned it to my trainer, Leo, who grimaced and apologized. He's brand new, Leo said, and so far he's not making a great impression. The second time I saw Gary, the owner of the gym, Marcus, introduced us. Marcus is a truly lovely man, and he recommended Gary's services. This here is Gary, he said. He's our dietitian while Isabel is on maternity leave. Have you had a consultation with him yet? I told him I hadn't and that I was perfectly happy with the diet plan Isabel had already designed for me. Before Marcus could respond, Gary interrupted. I'm sure it could use some updating. Men generally understand the ins and outs of how bodies work on a much more in-depth level. Considering we're the stronger sex, Marcus looked startled. Gary made that arrogant statement, utterly clueless that he had just planted the first seed of doubt in the mind of the one man who held his job in his hands. It was the first nail in his own coffin, and he'd just hammered it in with a smug grin. Gary, that's not at all correct. Marcus corrected him firmly. We've got people here who have made some hugely impressive strides towards their fitness goals, men and women. Isabel is a very educated woman and a fantastic dietitian. We're lucky to have her. Gary looked unconvinced. He scribbled his contact info on a business card and handed it to me. Hit me up. He winked. I just stared. If you need to update your diet plan, he added lamely. I looked at Gary, then at Marcus, who looked vaguely troubled. I turned and dropped the card directly into the nearest trash can before walking back to my workout. A few days later, after my session, I was in the women's locker room when one of the female trainers, Jenna, stormed in, fuming. That guy is such a piece of shit, she yelled. Do you know that guy Gary? She asked, not waiting for an answer. I was doing paperwork in the office and this jackass just spent 10 minutes nagging me, whining that no one here would give him the time of day, and bitching that nobody liked his diet plans. I was ignoring him, so I thought he'd finally gotten the message, but then he started playing some kind of weird anime porn on his phone. When I yelled at him he just said, "Oops, forgot to turn down the volume," and smiled at me. That's disgusting, I said. Did you tell Marcus? Marcus is on vacation for 2 weeks. I wrote the entire incident out and emailed it to him, but holy hell, I'm so grossed out. Jenna stormed off to the showers. We all knew Marcus was on a well-deserved vacation, completely off the grid. Some might say a business owner should check his email daily, but Marcus was old school. For the next 2 weeks, we were on our own. I finished packing my bag and walked out of the locker room, absorbed in my phone. I didn't see him, and I collided right with Gary. He reacted by falling into me, wrapping both his arms around me, to catch himself. It was a revolting feeling, like finding a spider crawling on your skin. I shoved him away, hard. What the fuck do you think you're doing, putting your hands on me? I shouted. The entire gym fell silent. Every head turned towards us. Gary's face went from white to red. Ease up. It was just an accident. Geez. Relax, he stammered. In a flash, Leo was beside me. I think it's best if you stay out of the gym and away from the locker room doors from this point on. Gary, I work here too. I can go where I please. Gary retorted. You're the nutritionist, Leo said, using air quotes. There is no need for you to be on the gym floor. Go back to your office. This revealed Gary's greatest flaw, a toxic blend of arrogance and cowardice. He was bold when preying on those he thought wouldn't fight back, but crumbled instantly when confronted by a man who commanded respect. Gary glared, muttered something about lunkheads, and stomped away. I told Leo how deeply uncomfortable Gary made me, and he promised to talk to Marcus the moment he returned. The next week was tense. The women at the gym avoided Gary completely. Then, last Friday, I found a message in my other inbox on Facebook. It was from him. The idiot didn't even bother making a fake account. This revealed his other critical flaw, sheer stupidity. He believed his position gave him a shield, never once considering that the digital trail he was creating would become the very evidence used against him. It started with a, "Hey and, you there?" I responded coldly, asking if he knew how inappropriate it was to contact clients from his job on social media. He laughed it off, calling me an uptight bitch and insisting we could be friends. I told him I'd rather associate with a genital wart. After a few more messages where he called me a princess and insisted he was a really nice guy, he sent it. An unsolicited picture of his penis. My mind reeled. The sheer audacity was stunning. I had told him to leave me alone, called him a genital wart, and his takeaway from that was, this? The logic, if you could even call it that, is something I'll never understand. It's a leap of delusion so vast it's almost impressive. I replied, oh look, a picture of your penis. I'm shocked you could find it. Has Marcus seen this? I then told him if he ever contacted me again, I'd send the entire conversation to everyone on his friends list, including his mother, and I included a link to her Facebook profile. Then I blocked him. I screenshotted everything, wrote up a detailed list of every creepy encounter, attached the screenshots, and emailed it all to the gym, CCing Leo. Leo called me immediately, apologizing profusely. Marcus came back on Monday. My session with Leo was on Tuesday, and he looked like the cat that got the canary. He told me the news while I was pushing that godforsaken sled. Gary had been off Monday and was due back Wednesday, completely unaware that Marcus had returned to an inbox overflowing with complaints about him. There were screenshots like mine, evidence he'd stolen phone numbers from company records, Jenna's formal report, and even demands for membership refunds from people who refused to return. On top of all that, nearly every trainer had already voiced their concerns to Marcus. Now, Marcus is a darling of a man. He's an old cowboy, built like a fridge, with a handlebar mustache to rival Sam Elliott's. He's a total teddy bear, until you piss him off. And according to Leo, Marcus had lost his mind. There was a hurricane of profanity. A few decorative items in his office were reportedly broken. It was an epic outburst. The next morning, I arrived at the gym to find it still standing. Gary strolled in for his shift, clueless. Marcus was at the front desk. He smiled widely at Gary and invited him into the gym for a team meeting. Gary, suspecting nothing, followed willingly. This was the payoff, the climax, the moment of pure vindication. Marcus gathered everyone, trainers and members alike, to the center of the gym floor. The rhythmic clank of weights ceased. Every single person stopped what they were doing and turned to watch. Then Marcus, his voice booming through the sudden silence, began to publicly list every single one of Gary's offenses. Most of his sentences began with, "This motherfucker," and ended with, "giving me and my business a bad fucking reputation." Leo told me Gary's face was a sight to behold. It went from confusion to dawning horror. A sheen of sweat broke out on his brow. His skin turned white as a sheet, then flushed a blotchy pink, then a simmering red, and finally a deep, alarming shade of purple as the list of his transgressions went on and on. Some people were genuinely concerned he might have a stroke. When Marcus finished his thunderous speech, he finally turned to look directly at Gary for the first time. "Now get the fuck out of my gym," he roared, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. "You are fired, and I will tell every damn gym owner and contact I know that you're a disgusting piece of shit." Gary didn't say a word, he just fled. Needless to say, the gym is back to its positive, motivational, and comfortable self again. In the end, swift justice was served, proving that when a community refuses to tolerate toxicity and stands together, Even the most disgusting behavior can be decisively rooted out. The gym owner's public takedown was epic, but was it the right way to handle it? What would you have done in his shoes?